Good morning and welcome to the Office of Tax Appeals. My name is Judge Long and this hearing is for the appeal of Olvera. We are currently broadcasting live on YouTube. However, our hearing record has not yet begun. I'm going to ask Franchise Tax Board, is everyone here from your side?
Yes, Eric Brown from Franchise Tax Board.
All right. And then Miss Olvera, are we waiting for anyone else for you or will you be attending the hearing today just by yourself?
Just by myself.
All right, thank you. So this hearing is being auto-transcribed. So to ensure we have an accurate record, we ask that each person speak one at a time and avoid speaking over each other. When needed, I or another panel member will interject to ensure proper transcription. After the hearing, OTA will produce the official hearing transcript, which will be available on our website. As a reminder, the Office of Tax Appeals is not a court, but an independent appeals body which is staffed by subject matter experts and is independent of any tax agency. While the Office of Tax Appeals is not a court, we nevertheless follow guidelines to ensure we establish a proper record on which a decision is based and to conduct an orderly hearing. Each party will have the opportunity to be heard, so please wait for your turn to present your side. Also, I may interrupt the hearing if we're getting out of order or become counterproductive just to keep us on track and to create a clean and efficient hearing record that's part of my role as lead administrative law judge. So before we go on the record, but with the knowledge that we are broadcasting live on YouTube, I want to ask if there's any questions about anything I just said before we go on the record. Ms. Olvera, do you have any questions?
No, very clear.
All right, thank you. Franchise Tax Board, any questions?
No questions.
All right, panel members, we ready to proceed? All right. With that, we are going on the record. This is the appeal of Olvera, OTA case number 230814005. The date is April 17th, 2025, and the time is 9:33 a.m. This hearing is being held electronically with the agreement of all parties. I am Judge Long, and I will be the lead panel member for the purpose of conducting this hearing. My co-panelists, Judges Stanley and Judge Turner, are equal participants in deliberating and determining the outcome of this appeal. I'm going to ask the parties to identify themselves and who they represent. I'll begin with Franchise Tax Board.
Eric Brown, California Franchise Tax Board.
Hi, good morning. Brad Catino, also Franchise Tax Board.
And then Miss Olvera.
Linda Olvera.
All right, for the appellant, great. So as stated in the minutes and orders were issued in this appeal, the issue in this case is whether appellant, that's Miss Olvera, has established that the late filing penalty should be abated. In my minutes and orders, I also stated that Ms. Olvera, appellant, had submitted exhibits 1 through 9. FTB did not object to the admission of these exhibits. Therefore, exhibits 1 through 9 are now admitted into evidence. FTB submitted exhibits A through J. Ms. Olvera, appellant, did not object to the admissibility of these exhibits. Therefore, exhibits A through J are now admitted into evidence. I'm going to ask if either party has new exhibits here today. I'll begin with Franchise Tax Board.
We have no new exhibits.
All right, thank you. Ms. Olvera, do you have any new exhibits?
I don't believe I do, but there's been such a process that I'm not sure I included after going through your office. I'm not sure the exhibits that you're using that I first submitted to FTB. Anyway, no, I think you've got it all. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Well, I just want to confirm here that what we have is your February 4th, 2025 submission. It looks like you hand wrote on a piece of yellow paper exhibits. You labeled them exhibits A through I.
Okay.
We renumber them for appellants. We renumber them as numbers as opposed to letters. So those are going to be exhibits 1 through 9. So we have your February 4th, 2025 submission and all of those attached exhibits. If there's anything aside from that you want us to consider, please let us know. I did include in my minutes and orders a due date for that, which was 15 days prior to the hearing date. So if you If you have anything additional you'd like to submit, let us know, but it requires us to show good cause why it should be submitted. So hopefully that's everything that you were looking for, but if you've got something else, do let us know.
Okay.
And Ms. Olvera, you indicated during the pre-hearing conference that you wanted to provide witness testimony. Is that still the case?
No.
No. All right. So what that means is that when you are speaking, giving your presentation, it will be considered as argument. If you want it to instead to be considered as like testamentary evidence, then I would need to swear you in. So at this time, I'm not going to swear you in, but if you change your mind during your presentation and want to offer facts and evidence in the form of your testimony, let me know and I will stop and I will swear you in.
Okay.
So with that, Ms. Olvera, you have 15 minutes for your presentation and you can proceed when you're ready.
Okay. I just wanted to start by how this all came about. And it was from a penalty that I received in November of 2021, much to my shock. And I immediately called my tax preparer, and he didn't admit that he had, and his name is Amon Diol, by the way. He did not say that he had filed them late, but that he would try and call IRS and the State Franchise Tax Board to get the penalties reversed. So he took time to do that. And then finally, in the end, after I got some more penalty notices from Franchise Tax Board, in May, May of 22, he told me that he had been able to resolve it with IRS, but he was unable to reach the State Franchise Tax Board. This was during the pandemic when things were crazy. And he just said he couldn't get through, and that I should just go ahead and pay the penalty because it was increasing by time. And then I was panicking more and telling him I need to do something. What should I do? I really depended on him for direction. And the one thing I did want to say also is that I'm 75 and I have filed my taxes all my life and paid whatever taxes I've owed all my life. I've never filed for an extension. I was very unfamiliar with that process. And so when he told me to go ahead and pay it, I said, okay, and I paid it. And then I felt that it was very unfair. I didn't realize that I later found out that he most likely filed it late, but never told me. That's probably why he wanted to help me out with IRS and State Franchise Tax Board so much. And he did by reversing, the IRS one. But anyway, so after I filed it, I wanted to petition for a refund, but I didn't even find out about that process until I went through about 2 months through my state assembly person asking for help. What should I do? Because, Franchise Tax Board is under the jurisdiction of state of California. So it took a long time for them to finally help me through and tell me what the avenues were with the Franchise Tax Board. So I immediately in May started my petition for refund. That was May of 22. And what I forgot to tell you, which is very important, is my taxes for 2020 were very complicated because I sold my house that year. And so I had to report capital gains, and I had to gather all of the documents for deductions on that. I mean, it was a grandiose process for me. But, that's why my tax preparer filed for an extension, because he needed more time on it. And that would have, and so instead of turning it in April of 2021, because, we file our taxes the year after the tax year, right? And so, yeah, it was it was a big process kind of for both of us. So he suggested an extension, which I said, fine, let's do it, not knowing anything about it, including that I should have at that time submitted a guesstimated payment of what my taxes should have been. You can imagine with selling a house and capital gains and everything, I owed a lot of money. And so, let's see. The extension, I waited for him to get back to me so we could work on it. I had no idea that the extension was going to be for October 2021, but he finally got back to me a little before that and said, Linda, we got to file your taxes. We have a deadline. I go, oh, I didn't know there was a deadline, but okay, let's do it. And we did it. And we got it done before October 21st. I submitted everything to him. And I'm sorry, October, I'm getting mixed up whether the deadline was October 15th or October 21st. But anyway, I submitted all my stuff to him and with time for him to process it. And then I finally went to his office and signed a check. That's the only evidence I have that's when I signed the check, which I had had him before years. And that was our process of I give him the check on the day that I sign my tax returns that he has prepared. And so that's what happened. And then getting back to where I left off, I didn't find out about the penalty till about the middle of November. And I was shocked.
Miss Olvera, I'm going to stop you for just a moment.
Sure.
I want to make sure you're aware this is not a penalty for late filing. I'm sorry. This is not a penalty for I'm sorry. It's a late return penalty. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Return for what? I mean, my understanding
That the return was let me see. So, oh, sorry, Mr. Coutinho, did you want to say something?
Yeah, it was filed in November, the tax return, and so there was a late filing penalty imposed for the failure to file, as opposed to what Judge Long is referring to as a late payment penalty.
All right.
Yeah, it's been confusing for me, the description of what this penalty is, but I think you get the idea of what my understanding was and what the penalty was.
All right, no problem. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page. Thank you. You can continue. You still have time left to continue your presentation.
Okay. So as you know, when I filed that petition for refund, the FTB had to investigate it. I'm not sure what the word is, but look into it. And they came back, and I think that's when Mr. Brown may have gotten involved, and he prepared his response. And that's when I found out that you don't look at one's past history, which I told you mine is very good, of paying my taxes. I found out that anything I had said that I was a senior citizen, 75, I had never filed an extension before. I had no idea what the process was or the deadline dates. And anyway, none of those issues that I had raised to defend myself were acceptable to the FTB. And especially the one where, and at that time, I really didn't know that my tax preparer had filed them late. I was just kind of going on that I had such a good record and that I paid it. I paid it, what my taxes were at that time. The penalty was the only one that I hadn't paid because I wanted to put, anyway, where was I in terms of, so trying to bring you up to date. Oh, I know where I was. I was describing Mr. Brown's response. And that's when I found out, I'm not sure which response it was, but I found out that not the fact, but the idea that my preparer had filed it late was not acceptable. And then Mr. Brown cited certain cases, as precedent cases where the taxpayer is ultimately responsible. And you can't blame it on your tax preparer. So I'm just trying to exhaust every avenue I have. And one of them is coming to this hearing. But I already know the position of franchise tax board. And I'm just still trying to appeal, to you about my situation at that time. I hope I was clear on what happened, and I think there's nothing more for me to say.
All right, thank you, Ms. Olvera, for your presentation. I'm going to go ahead and ask my panel if you have any questions for Ms. Olvera. I'll begin with Mr. Turner.
No, thank you.
Sorry, and Judge Stanley.
This is Judge Stanley. I don't have any questions for Ms. Olvera. Thank you for presenting.
All right, thank you. With that, I'm going to pass it to Franchise Tax Board. Franchise Tax Board, you can go ahead and begin your presentation when you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Eric Brown, attorney for respondent, the Franchise Tax Board. Accompanying me today is Brad Catino, also from the Franchise Tax Board. Appellant has failed to establish reasonable cause to abate the late filing penalty for the 2020 tax year. Appellant filed her tax return on November 18th, 2021, more than a month after expiration of the automatic paperless extension period. Appellant reported a balance due of $56,412, not including interest or self-assessed penalties. Thereafter, FTB imposed the late filing penalty. Appellant paid the balance owed and thereafter filed her claim for refund, which respondent denied. Appellant argues that she underpaid her tax because she was not advised by her tax preparer to pay the amount owed on the original filing and payment deadline. Appellant further asserts that her tax preparer promised to file her tax return by the extended deadline but failed to do so. Appellant thus argues the late filing penalty should be abated. Appellant has failed to demonstrate reasonable cause. Each taxpayer has a personal, non-delegable obligation to file the tax return by the due date and to pay the tax. Appellant's reliance on her tax preparer is not reasonable cause. It is well settled that it is not reasonable cause to rely on a tax professional on matters that do not involve substantive tax law, such as when to file a tax return or pay the tax. Appellant also argues that the IRS abated her penalties and further argues FTB should do likewise. However, as respondent discussed in its briefs, the IRS abated appellant's penalties for reasons that were unrelated to reasonable cause, but instead involved the IRS's abatement of penalties connected to federal COVID-19 policies for specific tax years. California had no such policies, and so the FTB had no authority to abate penalties for any reason other than a showing of reasonable cause. I would be happy to respond to any questions at this time.
All right, thank you. I'm going to turn it to my panelists for questions. I'll begin with Judge Turner.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
All right, Judge Stanley, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
All right, I also do not have any questions. And just to confirm, FTB, does that conclude your case presentation?
Yes, it does.
All right, with that, Ms. Olvera, would you like to make a rebuttal to FTB's presentation? I can give you 5 minutes to do that if you'd like to.
No, I think, I've been pretty clear about what, $9,000 is a lot of money in my situation, and I'm still paying on it to people that I had to borrow the money from. I think that was the only thing maybe I didn't say, but I'm very clear of FTB's position and the cases and the law that they're basing it on. I I still think it's wrong what happened, and, you know, maybe I need to go to small claims court. I'm not sure my statute has passed to file a claim against Mr. Deal, but anyway, 9,000 is a lot of money, and I have such a clean history. That's basically what I want to say. Thank you.
I understand. Thank you, Ms. Olvera. With that, Mr. Brown, would you like to make a final statement?
I have nothing further, Judge.
All right. With that, I'm going to ask my panel if you have any final questions. Judge Turner?
I don't. Thank you.
All right, Judge Stanley?
I don't have questions. Just thank you to all our participants today.
All right. Yes, thank you to all of our participants today. I'm going to go ahead and submit this case then. Let's see. This case is submitted now on April 17th, 2025. The record is now closed. I want to thank you for everyone participating today. The judges will meet to deliberate and decide your case. We will issue a written opinion within 100 days, and today's hearing and appeal of Olvera is now concluded. OTA is now in recess, and the next appeal will begin at approximately 10:25 a.m. Thank you.
Can I just get clarification on when the decision will come? You said within 100
Within
days.
100 days from today, yes.
Okay. Could it come sooner than that? I mean,
That's possible, but it
okay.
will be no later than 100 days from today.
Okay. I understand. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.